Сайн байцгаана уу хүн төлөөлөгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто цаг нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын хүүхдийн сангийн суурин төлөөлөгч Роберто Бэнес оролцож байна. Good evening.
Good evening, Jargon.
Welcome to the show. And before we start, a lot of things to talk about UNICEF in Mongolia. I would like to ask some questions about the current situation we face in terms of this missile.
Sure.
What happened? Why is that?
Sure. Indeed, it is a concern, and is not a new issue in the country. We had last year in March, we had the first outbreak that we successfully tackled, and UNICEF provided an important support to the government. However, measles is a highly infective disease, and although Mongolia was certified as a measles-free country, only in 2015 we had 15 countries that had major outbreaks. So it is a recurrent, it should not be. It also called to be focused and not to have any complacency when it comes to such an important disease. So we are following the situation very closely. There is a response in place, but we need to be sure that the system is prepared. It is about preparedness. It is about ensuring that we keep our system ready to respond.
And it turned out we are not ready for that. And before we go that, where is it coming from? What is that disease about? Why is it that dangerous and so much it can go around?
Well, it's one of the most infective diseases. And again, it follows population. It is mobile as populations are mobile. And what we know is that it is coming from the outside. It's coming from populations that are crossing borders. Neighboring countries of Mongolia had major outbreak in 2015. And this is a big country. And the border is extensive, is massive, as you know. So the problem is that we need to ensure that our systems are not complacent, are ready to respond to measles in a rapid time. So this is why there has been a response. There has been also support that was provided by WHO, by UNICEF itself. But we need to learn lessons. It is all about improving system and learning lessons.
How to make sure that now, first I understand it goes down now.
Yes.
Can we say that we stopped it?
No, it is still slowly ongoing. Most important point, there are what we call supplementary immunization activity, SIAs, that are being planned and already vaccines on the way. We are very helped to say that we help Ministry of Health to procure vaccine from our procurement channels, from UNICEF, to ensure that they're coming safe and then coming rapidly. So already beginning of May, very beginning of May, there will be a stock of vaccine ready for what we call a supplementary immunization.
So it is still coming?
It is on the way, yes. It was requested, and it is the shipment will arrive at the beginning of May, yes.
Why we don't have the reserve?
Well, this is also an important point. There are, and I'm referring especially to the child-related population that is extremely vulnerable to measles. There are reserves for what is called the routine immunizations. But the routine immunization also does not cover children that are under 5 months of age. So there are certain exposure and vulnerabilities that are normal, and what is important is to have stocks available for supplementary immunization activities. This is not always the case. It's not always the case in a country to have that available. It should be, especially countries that are ahead in the income.
So the lesson
level
is, after making down this break, we should make sure that we have that optimal reserve in the country, so that we don't pay that much with that much death of small little children for this unpreparedness.
This is one of the lessons, Jargon. I would say preparedness is the key. The other lessons is also preparedness is not only the physical stock, preparedness is also capacity of staff. This is why we invested efforts in training staff. For many years, Mongolia was measles-free. So it's normal that there is a certain level of preparedness that has to be boosted, that has to be muscle up. And we are working on that. The other level of preparedness is also communication to families, being able to detect the symptoms, being able to prevent, because measles can also be prevented. So what is important is to work on preparedness on the largest spectrum. It's not only about the physical availability of the vaccines.
It's also probably awareness or knowledge of mothers.
Correct.
What could happen, and even it may happen until 9 months old.
Correct.
We were expecting after 9 years, 9 months old, but now it's happening with 5 months old.
Correct.
And we, for this irresponsible, I would say, preparedness we paid already by the death of over 60 small children, which is very pity. All right, can I call Roberto, right?
Of course.
Roberto, let's talk about UNICEF. UNICEF in Mongolia. You have been already 1.5 years, right?
Yes,
here.
yes.
So
more than that, yes.
What are changes?
Well, first of all, Jargal, fantastic experience. Mongolia is truly one of the countries, one of a kind. And I knew it before arriving, and that was confirmed after more than a year and a half. Because of the overwhelming beauty of its nature, but also the power of identity, the culture, the potential. If there is one thing that I learned throughout my stay in Mongolia, is potential. The capacity in people, not only in the natural resources that are well known, but also in people to look at the future with optimism. And this is one of the things that I learned by being here in Mongolia, is also the resilience of population that comes from very extreme also weather conditions. And this gives an incredible force to a young population. A third of Mongolians are young, 36% under the age of 25. Can you imagine the potential to walk to the future with optimism? And this is one of the things that motivates me also to be happy as a person in this country.
Well, yeah, 1/3 under 25, a half under 30. These statistics are really impressive. And it also requires a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's young people.
Indeed.
And the segment of population that your organization dealing with is about this age, and UNICEF mostly, we regard in Mongolia as one of the drivers of taking issues addressed related to youth. How far, so far, what do you think? How much you are dealing with these issues, and where are the weak points the country has to pay attention?
We are at the critical junction also in the development journey of the country, where there are critical opportunities to be seized, but also there are risks if those opportunities are not properly met and intercepted. Let me tell you that as UNICEF, we acknowledge the tremendous progress that Mongolia has made on children. We need to start from there. If we take 1990, 2016, tremendous progress. One of the best performing countries in cutting down the number of children who died before the age of 5, almost 5 times. Cutting down the nutrition, the stunting status of many children.
5 times the children mortality has decreased for the last 25 years.
That is correct, John.
And which made the longevity of Mongolians' life expectancy grown up for another 9 or 7 years older, because this statistics probably.
Well, we need to see then about the mortality causes in adult age. My point is that there is a progress to be acknowledged on across the areas: child survival, education, getting children in school, nutritional status has improved dramatically, preschool has increased. Where I see the important now to switch the attention is on narrowing the inequality that are still preventing the country to unlock its potential. And inequality, we all know from OECD research and all countries' experience, are a brake to economic growth, are a brake to development.
That's, I think, particular segment of problems we face, you addressed as inequality in terms of family incomes, the children, how much they eat, even what is the nutrition level. And in that sense, what are the alarming issues with this understanding in terms of inequality, in particular for children?
I would choose, if I look at data, I would choose no doubt access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation. If we look at the average, this is an area that as a country we need to do better. Still, less than 60% of the population as a national average has access to proper sanitation, and slightly more than 60%, 64% to safe drinking water. And then if we unpack those national average into the gap between rural and urban, urban, peri-urban, rich and poor families, this gap is even wider. So this is an area where it is important that we invest energies, financial resources, but also the decision-making courage to have that as top priority on the development agenda, because we know what to do. Solutions are there.
Indeed, the issues of having 36% of people having not access to drinking water, clear drinking water, and 40% having no proper sanitation, really is alarming. And I keep writing about that, trying to draw attention of public to that issue. And I was impressed with the way you have been doing the pilot project. That gives some idea for Mongolians that it is possible in a cost-efficient way to solve part of the problems. Please tell us about what you have been doing on that project.
This is very much the way we operate. We not only support government institutions and agencies and ministries providing technical assistance, but also we try to identify successful models of service delivery at the local level, in particular in Huskul, Aimak, and in Nalak district. We test those models, we try to evaluate them, learn lessons, and propose them for nationwide replication. And when it comes to sanitation, which is a crucial service for children because it's part of the overall well-being and their health, we saw successful indicators improvement in the use of what we call the wash container unit, which is a container that is fitted as a sanitation unit and attached to either the mobile kindergartens, that is another model that we are testing, especially in rural areas, or attached to school buildings that don't have indoor sanitation. And that is an innovation that brings the cost quite low in terms of installation. It has an immediate impact in better health and hygiene for children, better well-being. Parents are happy because children can have proper sanitation in the kindergarten and school. Now our strategy is to move to replication in more IMAX, replication on larger geographical scale.
Indeed, I have visited your facility in Hupsugul, Aimak, and I was impressed with this wash container facility that you have built into the current dorms building.
Right.
And the kids were so happy because they have finally indoor facilities and shower and restrooms. That was very impressive, in particular if you consider the cost. That is so much you can solve. I think if from the particular Aimaka, someone, a Mongolian private company, just make this one instead of making big nadam or spending a hell of money for just making showing up. I would rather ask them to do the same things, which is in which salons. It is in Tunilsom, right?
Yes, yes, that's where you visit.
This is the visit. And also that kindergarten where small kids have own this wash facilities.
Yes.
It's very impressive. In Gerd district in Nalek, where mostly the Kazakh population lives, that is impressive. So, I mean, you have been organizing certain kind of training of other IMAX kindergartens, right?
Yes, a sharing of experiences.
How is it going now?
It's going well because we see ownership and leadership at IMAC level from government department and authorities. And this is the most important results for us, to leave behind in the area where we operate a seed of knowledge and leadership and ownership of our approach. And this is very much sustainable now in the sense that the IMAC governor cabinet or the NALAC also district and governor team, they are animating themselves this dialogue across IMAC and across districts. And recently in Huskul, in Murun, we had a number of representatives from other IMACs that travel to see directly this type of installation. Now, this dialogue that generates new idea, new commitment, is what we really want to support, and we see it growing.
The whole business model is to start in particular locations to show that it is working,
Yes.
then the other peoples come and they're replicating it all around, right?
That is working, that is making good results, that is affordable, and is also easy to maintain, because it's also maintenance over time.
That's whole thing, and that's the solution to that problem of inaccessible drinking water in the wash facilities. Also, I remember you have organized air pollution and its impact on children.
Yes, recently.
Please tell us about that.
You're right, Jargal. In January, together with the Public Health Institute, we brought here to Ulaanbaatar some of the top world experts in air pollution. And that followed an analysis that we made here in Mongolia to try to understand the impact on child health. So findings were presented, and we also tried to use that conference as an opportunity to position air pollution and child health to the attention of the public and the decision makers. The findings are staggering. If we look at the three top mortality causes, the causes that led to the highest number of years of life that are lost, those three causes are related to air pollution. It's ischemic disease, respiratory disease, lung cancer.
It's like this situation in London in the 50s, where they had the similar statistics of people dying because the bad air.
And it is scientifically proven. What is important is that there is a lot of also leadership from government ministries also to work on solutions. There are plans that now needs to be accelerated. Our concern, Jargal, is to cut down on what is the exposure of children to air pollution, but also, and let me also use this opportunity to send an appeal, indoor smoking. Indoor smoking is an accelerating factor of pneumonia, of child lung vulnerability. Not only the air pollution that is caused, we know, by the raw coal burning, but also that is also coupled with the fact that inside the house, inside the gear, smoking is harming children. And the family lives together in a very condensed space. We need to cut down on that. We need to ensure that children
in
are
Gear
safe.
district in particular, in the north of the city, in Gear, if father or a member of family smokes, it makes this situation even worse.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an accelerating factor.
And I hope after that, I remember there was certain advices how to combat this situation, etc. And I hope our government will do that. And also, along with this UNICEF, what you do, your function about what we have talked, also you have been also advocating the children's right.
Yes.
So what is that about?
This gives me the opportunity also to say how happy we are that the new child protection law was recently adopted at the parliament. And this is expression of commitment. It's not to be taken for granted. The government of Mongolia has made a tremendous step ahead in adopting a very forward-looking and modern laws that bans corporal punishment on all settings. It's a law that looks into protecting children when they are online. This is a country with a young population, hyper-connected. All our children and adolescents with their smartphone, with access to internet, are also exposed to opportunities, but also risks. So the laws also look into that, and also looks into creating a system of protection of rights. So I'm very proud also to say that our government partner, the different authorities, the National Authority for Children and others involved with this, have worked together with parliamentarians.
So we have a law.
A very strong and
How
good
many
law.
countries do they have the law?
Well, most of countries, most developed countries, they have a law, and Mongolia is joining. Mongolia had already, let me clarify, they had already a law. This law is a newer, more advanced in its contents, and also adapted to a changed world. So what is important is that Mongolia joins a group of countries that have a law, but also a law that is matching a world that is changing fast.
So like many Mongolian laws, we have not only to make those laws, but also to enforce them, to make sure that, and for that, it is not only the officials' work or government work, it's also a knowledge of parents, everybody, every citizen, that every child is protected by a law, and you cannot offend, you cannot beat, you cannot restrict, limit the rights of the children, right? And what can we do better? What can we do that the parents know about that more?
There is a work that goes beyond the technical implementation of the law. It's a work of changing public opinion, on ensuring that the rights of children are known and considered as a non-negotiable part of our life. These are the rights of the most vulnerable in the society. And when it comes to violence and corporal punishment against children, when it comes to verbal abuse, when it comes to discrimination, we need to create a culture where children are protected, not just because it is right and it is part of the human rights culture, but also because we build the foundation of a healthy society, of a strong, cohesive society.
And plus we have certain phones that children can call if they are being beaten or offended, right?
Is the 108 number that was set up a couple of years ago with the support of UNICEF and other organizations and led by the National Authority for Children. Now today children have a free toll number to call, not only to report a case, but also interact and ask for counseling.
If
meaning
there is
that
any
the operators
advice,
are, the operators
if
are
they feel
trained.
uncomfortable or
That is
something
correct.
isolated or beaten, they can call to
That
this
is correct.
phone. And this phone is free. Who is
It's
operating
free.
it?
The National Authority for Children.
Okay, so they're all two cell phone operating companies.
Exactly, they
provide
provide the support. We need to acknowledge that. Yes.
It's not so bad, isn't it?
Well, this is
Good
a huge,
achievement,
it's a huge step ahead, Jargal, because it also breaks the isolation of a child that has witnessed or that has lived himself, herself, violence and abuse.
Yes,
It's a great step ahead.
Let's talk back about your institutions. I understand as UN institutions, it is working with the government, with contract, and with a certain priority for any 5 years. And I understand you guys going to make either new one now, and so for next 5 years. I mean, it is now happening with your tenure here. What would be those priorities for the next coming 5 years?
Indeed, we just finalized the preparation of the new program 2017-2021. Two main areas of focus. One is an accelerated push to narrow those inequality gaps that we still have there in access to water, in access to sanitation, in access to quality preschool, in ensuring education for children with disabilities. All those areas where we still do not have quality coverage of services. Give a push to close those gaps. But also ensuring that we can support the government in having children as an area of social investment. Investing in the new generation is the best way to create that human capital that will sustain economic growth.
I remember my article I was doing with your professionals in the field, that how important it is to feed the children before 3 years old with the right required vitamins. Then you have grow so much, and this investment is several dozen times folded return it gives. I remember that. If you would have a chance to talk to all Mongolian government and to tell just one message about children in Mongolia, what would be that message?
The message would be very clear. Investing in children, adolescents, the new generation, as a fundamental condition to create that human capital that the country needs to sustain economic growth, to look at the future and a prosperous future with optimism. And investing in the new generation, getting children to school with quality education, getting them healthy and protected. That's the best way to create the foundation for tomorrow's.
Roberto, a few questions about you. You are an Italian. You have been working for UNICEF for over, how many, 15 years?
18 almost.
18 years, and you have been working in big countries, Mexico, Yemen, Senegal, and now in Mongolia, a smaller country. What is that strikes you working with UNICEF?
The capacity of create change.
Change.
We are in the business of change, of social change, that capacity of helping the population, the society that we serve, through our partner governments, through our partner in the civil society, to create change, to ensure that we manage to help those children, not only for today, but as a condition to ensure prosperity of the children and the society in the future.
If you change the children today, you will change their future.
That is correct. This is what we believe in.
Why you have decided to work with children? What made you?
I would say that it was always something that I felt inside since an adolescence. I was part of community groups, the Scouts. I spent many years in the Scouts in Italy. I was experiencing volunteering myself. So since the age where you really develop your passions, I believe that there was a connection with other peers and there was a connection with the young groups. And I immediately saw that that was the best way to change society for the better. This is why then I studied diplomacy and international relations, and I subsequently entered UNICEF.
What are most important features in character to do what you are doing?
You need to believe that society can evolve positively. And you need to be driven by a sense of optimism, despite the difficulties that you see every day in this work. But also focus on the fact that it's one of the best ways to use the time we have available. It's one of the best ways to spend this life in a useful manner.
What days look like where you feel very happy working with what you do?
The days I feel most happy are the days where I feel our partners, those that we work long with, that start talking a language or doing things that perhaps they were not very familiar with, and they start picking up and taking over the messages that we're trying to support, the capacity that we're trying to share, and see that this virtuous, positive dynamics is self-sustained. That gives me a sense of peace, that gives me a sense of fulfillment, and ultimately is the reason why we do what we do.
So were those feelings where you had when you worked during the Aceh in Indonesia, big tsunami and earthquake disaster,
Yeah.
right?
That was probably the most intense experience in all my life, where those feelings were magnified by the size of the disaster. Yes, absolutely.
And then you will see the true value of life.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Roberto, what you do here are very important for us, as we tell, for the future of Mongolia, because you do something that otherwise hard or not always we will find to do so because other pressures. So we want to have this healthy children, you know, well-being, their children, very important. So you and your team in Mongolia, I saw your great Mongolian team you have, and in fact, UN has a lot of Mongolians professionals
Absolutely.
working. And what you do is really a part of better Mongolia. So I would like to thank you and your team for a wonderful job, and good luck, my friend.
Thank you so much, Agal, for having me, and also for all the great work that these valuable Mongolians are doing every day for their own country, and we want to support them.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
За хүн төлөөлөгчтэй өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын хүүхдийн сангийн суурин төлөөлөгч Роберто Бэнес оролцлоо. Их баярлалаа.